Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the NECA Deluxe Predator Clan Leader with bendable tentacles, as it says on the packaging, which is really cool. By the way, the packaging is made to look like the old blister cards, so that's kind of awesome. And this figure is pretty cool. Kind of like I said for the Gorilla and the Mantis, it's not my cup of tea, but it is objectively a pretty awesome figure. I know a lot of you guys like this sort of thing, so you get to see a review on it. It's pretty cool. Objectively. Let me just get it off the stand so we can take a closer look. This guy stands just about 24 centimeters tall, which makes him just about 9 inches to the top of the head, a little bit taller if you count that backpack thing. So it's definitely a large figure for the price point. This guy comes in around 25 bucks depending on where you buy it. It should be in stock at Big Bad Toy Store, by the way. So if you want to check it out and don't want to go hunting, you can check that link in the description below. But this guy's really cool. He's covered with paint, as you can see, covered with sculpt. So, like I said, objectively, there's not a whole lot wrong with it. There are a couple tiny issues, nothing major, but tiny, which we will cover. But it's, subjectively, it's not my thing. I don't like the orange and green combo, but that's, like I said, very subjective, so that has no bearing really on the review. It is pretty cool. I like that they have the various colors. That's nice. I mean, we don't see that much paint normally on a figure at this price point, but you have this darkish brownish black with kind of like an orangish red to the orange. We have the brown mesh throughout everywhere, basically, so that's nice. The darker spots have like this reddish brown dry brushing wash combination. The hands are painted, again, with multiple colors. This guy is definitely not lacking in paint. You can see his belt area right here has more paint on it than most figures at this price point, so that's impressive. The boots, nice and green with the silver. We have the red paint details. Even down on the feet we have more paint details. Lots and lots of detail. And the thing that really sets this guy apart, I love the unmasked predators. I love them. They put so much detail into that. You can see the black stripes throughout the face, even the mouth and teeth. Nice pink gums and white teeth with wash behind them. The eyes are painted in there, even though they're recessed. It's nice and mostly clean, so I can't really complain about that too much. The paintwork on the top of the head is awesome. And then we have these dreads that are shaded from white to this kind of grayish greenish color with the individual little beads or whatever those are painted on there. For the most part, we have a couple that are missing some paint back here, but still, it's very nicely detailed, very aesthetically pleasing, even if you don't like orange and green. And then the backpack continues on with the paint job. Really, really cool figure. I love the aesthetic. Before we talk about the figure anymore, though, let's talk accessories. First one is the blaster, which goes on his shoulder. Pretty standard. It has the double hinges, and then it just kind of pegs in. Doesn't have the sliding mechanism we've seen on the AVP figures, but that's okay. And then it has the little ball peg for the top of the blaster as well, so it works well enough. We do have a face mask, which I know what it's supposed to look like this. I get that, but I hate that design personally. It just looks so goofy to me. I would much rather see the Predator face underneath rather than the mask itself. He does come with the spear staff thingy, which has a few different shades of paint and is nicely colored, and that can also snap onto his back, so that's pretty cool. And then we have the bendable tentacles, as they mentioned, and they can either peg in next to his head, kind of on his chest armor, and they just kind of hang down there. They are bendable, but, well, we'll get into that in a minute. So we have them that can peg in there, or they can peg in on the wrists. Same type of situation, and if you don't have them pegged into one place, you get these little plugs that go in to fill in the holes. So if you don't want them in the wrists, you put the little pegs in the wrists, and if you don't want them in the chest, you put the little pegs in the chest. So it's nice that they included that. Now, before we talk about the articulation, let's talk about these bendable guys. They are nice and bendable. I don't have any complaints about the tentacles themselves. They're nicely painted, they look cool, and they bend very easily. That's fine. The problem is, though, this is the peg. And it is keyed, so it has to go in a certain way. You can see that little cutout right there, hopefully. When they peg in, it's really just enough to hold them in place. They're not going to be strong enough, most likely, to hold up a figure. They're going to fall out fairly easily. So if you wanted to use them, you would definitely need to support whatever you're putting on there. And they are exceptionally long for the figure, so anything that's not a pretty neutral pose is going to look really, really, really big and awkward. And then putting them on the hands is going to make them even bigger and more awkward, so There are ways you could do it, of course, but it's going to take some creativity and definitely some display stands to hold things up. So just be aware of that. I think it would be cool aesthetically if we had some shorter ones that just kind of hung down to imitate or to look like they hadn't been fully extended. But, you know, that's it's probably getting to be a bit too picky for a figure at this price point of about 25 bucks. So let's talk about the figure, the head. Usually the Predators are on a single peg. It's a straight peg that goes either into the neck or the head, and then a ball peg that lets it move around, and that's what this feels like too. It doesn't feel to me like it has a double. Moves around very nicely other than where the dreads get bunched up, and you can, if you really wanted to, you can pop the head off or just reach in there with some tweezers or something and move them around. You can get back there and get them out of the way. Then you can move the head just fine. So that's really good. I like that. They are nice and soft and individually sculpted, so they won't get in the way too much. No problems with the head. I like that. It moves around considerably well for how much hair and stuff there is on there. For the shoulders, we just have the standard ball hinges. The shoulder pads are connected to the torso, and it's all one solid sculpt, so that will limit it some. You can still get the arms out just about horizontal, though, so I think that's pretty good. You can bring them forward as far as the shoulder pads allow, so not very far forward. It's just, there's nothing you can do when you have that much bulky armor on the arm. That's just the way it goes. This armor is connected to the bicep, but it doesn't get in the way, so you get your full bicep swivel. You get your double jointed elbow, so that's good. You get your wrist swivel. No control panel this time on the wrist because we have these tentacle things. And then we have our ball pegged wrists, so no problems really so far. For the torso articulation, it is kind of stiff fresh out of the package, but if you heat that up with a hairdryer and get it to move around, you get really good range, which makes me think all of the Predators have this situation. Some of them don't really seem to want to move, but this guy didn't either until I heated him up, and then you get really good range out of that ball peg. So that's pretty cool. Now, one of the objective issues I have, other than the tentacles being a bit loose, is that the paint job's not the best on the torso here. It's a little sloppy. And I understand we're still getting a ton of paint, and it's not going to be perfect at the price point, but some of it doesn't even have the brown on there, so it's not ideal. It's something you should be aware of, but I think it's something you can live with at the price point. That's going to be up to you, though. We have a ball peg for the lower torso. It's really going to just be a swivel with a little bit of play in it. It doesn't really want to be anything but a swivel, so that's okay, though. You get your full swivel. This is all soft material, so it won't get in the way of the hips too much. And they're not actually connected, they just have the loop going over the leg. So you can bring the leg up pretty far forward. You can probably even get it a little bit farther. So that's good. You can bring them all the way out to the side. Well, almost all the way. I'd say that's pretty far, given that it's a big old Predator with all this armor and stuff. It works better than most Spider-Man figures these days. We have a thigh swivel in there. That one doesn't want to go. Does this one? Neither of the thigh swivels want to go for this one, and I don't want to force them right now without being extra careful. So be aware if the thighs are stuck, you want to hit it with a hairdryer or run it under some hot water and you should be okay. We have our double jointed knee, which works really well down here. You get basically all the range you could possibly want, and it's still all painted underneath, so that's pretty cool. You do have a swivel in this upper knee joint, though I don't think you'll ever really need it. And then lastly, we have a ball peg for the ankle, which is minimal, but it's there, so it'll help him get into some poses. So ultimately, no pun intended, it's a really solid figure. It does have a few issues here and there, but for the price point, I still think it's personally, I think it's definitely worth it. Objectively, I still think it's worth it. I don't care for the green and orange, but it's still cool looking despite that. I think the head is what sells it for me, so I like it. I think you guys should probably look into it if you're into the Predator figures or just want to get a really nice figure for 20 bucks or 25 bucks. This is probably the way to go. So there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you turn on notifications, and in the meantime, keep collecting.